Hey guys, Eric with Blah Freaking Blah. We're talking movies as our pastime. Today we're talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, work's had me busy, so we're going the commentary style again today. Sorry about that. But I had to squeeze this in. I had to get this in. There's so much coming out lately. God, in the form of trailers, especially. Today we just had Blade Runner and the second trailer for John Wick 2 come out. And I'm just like, wow, I can't keep up. But I want to talk about Star Wars before we got any further into it. We saw it over the weekend, and today we're going to talk about my review of the film, the pros and cons, and then we're going to talk about those reshoots and what I personally speculate those reshoots were about. This is going to be a little bit of a ramble. I'm going to try not to edit out too much because I want to give you guys just off the top of my head. I kind of just want to free flow and talk about this a little bit and see what you guys have to say about it. So firstly, was I impressed with this movie? Let's go with the pros. The pros of this film are it was a good, solid film. It really was. A lot of the times reshoots can be a mess when they come out, i.e. Suicide Squad. Which wasn't terrible, but it was just, it was a mess. Thankfully, this is not the case. They did a really good job squeezing out an adjusted story, but it's still being very coherent. My hat's off to the guys that managed to pull that off. Special effects were fantastic. This is why we have CGI. And there's a lot of practical effects in this film as well. It was a great balance that Hollywood is another film that Hollywood guys should really look at and say, okay, this is how you balance CGI and practical effects. With that said, there are elements of CGI that I'll have to get into in the spoiler section of this. I'm going to do a non-spoiler review here first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about when we get into the changes that the reshoots seem to have done. We'll get into a little bit of spoiler talk, so I'll warn you ahead of time if you haven't seen the film yet. There are elements of CG in this film that were really well done, but were distracting. The acting, everybody involved acting-wise, I think did a great job. A standout for me was Donnie Yen. His character was just immensely likable. But everyone put in good work. Is the story now crucial to the Star Wars universe? I think it is. I honestly think that this is going to be a solid addition to your collection of Star Wars at home. So there I said it. It is definitely worth buying on Blu-ray. The cons of this film. You might have heard this from other reviewers. I think that I've heard it from a couple, and it's true. One part of where apparently the reshoots may not have helped was the first act. The first act is basically the first third of the film is all over the place. I mean, you are hopping from one planet to the next at breakneck speed, where they're trying to just hammer home the story. It seems like, maybe they cut 15 or 20 minutes out of this film, and this is the only way they could really do it. I mean, they even put, title cards for each planet you were going to, which I don't think's been done in Star Wars before. And it was fine. I mean, I enjoyed it. A lot of people, I've heard some people complain about the lack of backstory for the characters that are being introduced. And I don't really have that gripe. I don't think that, every character who comes on screen needs to have this full fleshed out backstory. It can be helpful for sure, especially when you want to really care about the characters. But, there's something to be said for being introduced to characters that you discover more of over time. Be it in future films or be it in books or comic books or, the expanded universe that if you're really a fan of, you'll dig into. And it really enriches the universe most of the time when you have these types of things to dig into. For instance, there is a book out right now that's a prequel to this prequel, and it tells the story of the Urzos. I've not read it, and I don't remember the name of it, but feel free to look that up if you are a big fan and would like to have, more of the Urso storyline, and with Cassian and the Empire and all that, and kind of leading up to the events of the beginning of the film. So by all means, go see the film. You have to see it on the big screen. It's Star Wars, and it is very much a worthy addition. The ball has not been dropped yet. Great things. So just overall, it's a really enjoyable film. Was it as good as The Force Awakens? For me, no. But I really enjoyed the boots on the ground feel of the movie. Whereas, where it really did feel like this was a war. I mean, you've seen that, but a lot of the original Star Wars, George Lucas loved World War II movies, the aerial fights. So a lot of Star Wars was aerial battles. They were kind of formatted on that. What you didn't see as much of was ground battles. And this movie focuses on mainly ground battles. Even Abrams, didn't really do much ground battles. He did a lot of, the air battles that were so familiar with George Lucas's films. Where he had, I guess George Lucas also focused on the swashbuckling. I mean, it's very much the 50s style pulp story where you had, the World War II and the swashbuckling, which is the lightsabers and all that. And so by focusing on the ground fight, it gave this film a really different, unique view of the universe. So with that said, go see it. Pack your kids up, pack yourself up. Go see the film. Spend a lot of money, because you will. It's if you can catch a 3D showing, it's worth seeing in 3D. And those are my thoughts, my spoiler-free thoughts on the film. Now, getting into the spoiler-filled territory. Heads up, spoiler-filled territory coming. So if you want to go see the film and come back and watch the rest of this video, and if you want to continue, we'll just keep on moving on. So you've been fairly warned. Moving on. There were apparently a lot of changes to this film. The reshoots were clearly more extensive than I even thought they were. And I'll tell you why. I'll prove it. Go watch the Star Wars sizzle reel and trailer 2. Trailer 1 also, but the sizzle reel that was released earlier this year and trailer 2, most of what you see in both of those previews are not in the film. They're not. They're just not there. They're either redone or they're not there. And what I think they changed was the character of Jyn Erso. I really do. I think that because most of the changes involve her. If you watch trailer 2, she is clearly in the lead. She's in the lead of this mission. She's the one being sent. Where the supporting actor pilot, whose name I can't think of right now because I'm a slacker and didn't bring notes with me, he says in the preview, I want to help. If you're going, I want to help you. And she's the one flying. She's flying. She is in the lead. And, they're saying, are you up to the task? And yes, sir, and all this good jazz. And in the film, she is none of these things. Pardon me while I take a sip of coffee. She is somebody who doesn't want to be in the rebellion. She doesn't see the value of it. She has to be convinced to do this. And her main motivation is to rescue her father. And once her father... Now remember, you're in spoiler territory here, so this is your last chance to stop before I keep going. Good? Okay. When her father is killed, that's the primary motivation for her to, really see this through. Like her father's legacy. He lived and died, and to basically resolve a decades-long issue with Star Wars fans, and this is probably the greatest gift this film gave to Star Wars fans, is that damn exhaust port was there for a reason. It existed for a reason. It was put there on purpose. It was to bring it down. So, man, big time hats off to the writers for pulling that one out. That is one of the main reasons prequels and sequels and side stories should exist, is to help fix plot holes. Yeah, whether or not you ever viewed that as a plot hole, But anyway, I personally believe that the character of Jyn Erso wasn't that likable. I think it was very wise for Disney to change that. To take her out of the lead entirely, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I mean, the end result turned out really good. Here's the trouble. It's such a different storyline, apparently, from what was originally done. I'm torn because I don't necessarily want to see the alternate cut. I want this to be an established film, and I'm sure that's what Disney wants, but it's like an alternate reality version, and God, that's so enticing. You just want to see it. You want to know what was changed. You want to know what that original story was. It's an alternate timeline version of the story. And those are so intriguing. It's hard to like walk away from that because you want to know what it was. And my advice to Disney, if Disney were to ever lend me their ear, which as far as I'm aware they're not, but if they were, or if someone's listening here, basically what I would like to see happen is we get the novelization of the original story. The alternate take, the alternate cut. Because I'd be curious, I'd buy it. I'm curious enough where I would like to read it. I'm sure a lot of you would like to see it too. I don't necessarily, want to see that alternate cut yet. I want to live with the movie that we have. I want to let it breathe. I want to be with that for a while. Maybe a few years down the road, we see it. I do not expect Disney to ever do this. But if fans clamor enough for that original cut, maybe so. But yeah, seeing that, being able to at least know the story in, either novel format, comic book format, just for the fun of it, kind of like Dark Horse did with the Star Wars, which is the original George Lucas script adapted into comic book format. It's just an interesting read, to kind of see that different side. Oh, I completely forgot to mention the distracting visuals in the film. So, a couple of characters were digitally put into this film, digitally recreated, and it's distracting. It's really well done, but it's obviously CG, in a couple of moments especially. I've heard reports about how much better it was than movies like, Tron Legacy. And I unfortunately disagree with that. I don't think that they've gotten much better. I've seen it done better in, films like Terminator Genesis. One of the few strong points of that film was the digitally recreated Arnold. And even that you could still tell was fake. It's just, when you're making a real person, like a real used to be alive person or still alive but a younger version of them, you have to really nail that one home or recast the person. I personally think that this infatuation with digitally creating someone, it is fascinating, but at the same time, going the old school route of just hiring a different actor to play the part, or doing slightly more nuanced CGI characters, like the, one of the characters that you see his face in the reflection, and it's really, really well done. I mean, that, because it's not just in your face, it just comes across as more real, but then he turns and he's in the movie a lot. And, it's like I said, it's really, really good. I mean, the guys worked really hard to recreate him, and I'll go ahead and say Princess Leia at the end. But neither one of them was like, wow, that looked completely convincing. Neither one of them was. Does it kill the movie? No, but it is a distraction. But all that to say, watch The Sizzle Reel and the trailer 2 after you see the film. And because at the end of the film, the third act is apparently completely different. I mean, you have Jyn Erso running with the Death Star plans in her hand, and there's a battle, and you have Darth Vader. There's scenes with Darth Vader that were cut. God only knows what they were. You have, I mean, it's all kind of, basically the entire battle scene, I believe, at the end, story-wise, I mean, sure, some of the action scenes are probably the same, but story-wise, it was a different animal. It was wrapped up in a completely different way, and apparently it wasn't as good as what they ended up doing. But with that said, I liked what they did, and this has been a really, really long ramble. It is late at night, and I am just rambling my butt off, but I just wanted to kind of ramrod all these thoughts into you guys, and was not able to get all the lighting and everything set up tonight. It's just really late, and like I said, day job demand things of me. But well, if you are still listening after all of this, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm really amazed that you're still here. But let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the movie, what you thought of the changes, like what you speculate. I mean, I'm always looking for insights and good ideas, and I'm sure you have some. So please feel free to share them on this video or any other of my videos. When I am able, I always try to respond. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you again soon. Got to get to these trailers. Blade Runner! All right. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.